Welcome to the Workies Podcast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to navigating the dynamic landscape of the home service industry. Delve into the world of business strategies, innovation, and growth as we bring you insightful discussions on the latest trends, success stories, and expert advice. We're thrilled to have you here joining us. Lewis is not, your typical entrepreneur. Hailing from New Brunswick, Canada, he's a serial entrepreneur and a published author with a fascinating journey. Armed with a degree in mechanical engineering and a background in construction and trade, Lewis took a leap into digital realm in 2019. Despite lacking formal business or sales experience, he ventured into the world of digital marketing, focusing specifically on contractors. His company, Blue Crocus Solutions, has become a beacon of success in the industry, offering a suite of services including web design, SEO, and Google Ads tailored to the unique needs of contractors. Join us as we delve into Lewis's story, uncovering the secrets behind his success, the lessons learned along the way, and the invaluable insights he has to offer to aspiring entrepreneurs. So we're excited to chat with you today, mainly about how you went from, construction and into that space, into digital marketing. To give a little background on myself as well, my name's Caitlin Dwyer. I'm an account executive as well as a podcast host over here at Workies. And I'm excited to really chat with you and learn more and be able to give some more insight into our listeners today. To start out, I'd love to hear about a pivotal moment or experience that inspired you to transition from a background in construction engineering to starting, your own digital marketing business.
Appreciate you having me on here. Love what you guys are doing in the industry. Pivotal point for me really was quite simple. It was pretty life-shattering. Not gonna lie. It was our first son being born. I was gonna say, it's nothing too kind of cliche, but it was pretty life-shattering. It was our first son being born. And I realized really quickly, I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So he was born in 2019, but my backstory, right out of high school, I went into construction. I've been doing construction all through high school in the summers. I didn't really have summers off. I just was doing concrete work and drywall and that sort of thing. So I went right into that after high school. I used to brag to my friends I got paid to work out while they had to pay for their gym memberships,
I feel that.
So I did that for 4 years, and then I just got to a point where it's like, I know I want to have a family. I know I want to, I know I'm capable of more. And so none of my family had gone to university or college, but my cousin had, and he went in, he was the first in his family to do it. And so I was talking with him, and, I just kind of decided on mechanical engineering as the, machines and whatnot. So I went into mechanical, graduated in 2019 actually, but I'd been working in school as a mechanical designer for a local company, doing work to help amputees, actually. So people that had lost a limb who wanted to drive. So maybe they didn't have an arm, or they just had some feet. We then built and designed new apparatus for them to be able to drive. So whether it's hand controls to control the brake and gas, or steering apparatus and whatnot. So I graduated in 2019 with my degree in mechanical engineering and was going to carry on full-time with this company. Our son was born, and I realized really quickly, so he was born in June, I graduated in May, carried on working full-time for them. And I realized really quickly, we wanted to, at the time, have 4 kids. We have 4 kids now. So I realized that to go to all the doctor's appointments, to go to their sports when they got older, this wasn't going to work for me to be a full-time employee, with a career, and also be raising and helping to raise 4 kids. So I started looking at different options, and I hit upon marketing. I love business. I loved the marketing. I had started a side hustle, actually doing blacksmithing and selling little keychains while I was in university. And I loved the marketing aspect of it. And I said, what if I could combine my love of marketing and my very basic knowledge of business with my understanding of the trades? Being in construction, working with, the various trades on the jobs, I saw a massive need for that, clientele needing marketing. They were really good at their jobs, but they weren't good at getting customers. It was mostly word of mouth. And so that's how it happened. Was in August, I bought my first course. I think we're going to get into talking about mentors here in a bit, but I bought my first course, took the investment we had saved to do a bathroom renovation. I like to say this was my first sale in the business, was convincing my wife to take that money and turn it into, a business investment, and went from there. And the rest is history, as they say, but it's been just continually learning and honing my craft and niching down, which we'll get to as well, into, specific home services. But that's been the process. It was, our son was born. I said, there's no way I can be an employee and still be the family man that I want to be. So let's, get a job or make my own job where I can work in the middle of the night and still be there for the family in the middle of the day.
Right, right. Amazing. What a cool story. It's like, what is it? The like cats who have like 9 lives. I feel like you have 9, but they've all like led you to where you are now. So that's so cool. Also congrats, because I mean, you made everything happen the way you wanted it to, like with personal life as well as professional life. You wanted 4 kids, now you guys have 4 kids. You wanted to start your own business, and really it sounds like be your own boss, and here you are now too. So amazing for that side.
Just jump out of the plane and try and build the parachute on the way down.
Right. That's what you have to do though, right?
Yeah.
That's what you have to do in this side of the house. I mean, you did mention too, and we talked about too, surrounding yourself, with those coaches and mentors. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the role they played in your growth and development, and, how they influenced your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. So I knew right from the beginning there were things that a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't have a background in marketing or business or SEO or websites before I started. So I wasn't jumping into something that I knew. I just saw a need and I knew that there was a solution, and I dove in and learned what I needed to. I think engineering prepared me how to learn. And so I can pick up information quickly. But mentors is the way that I have found to compress time. I could spend my whole life and learn everything that I need, but I wouldn't get to where I wanted to in the time frame that I want. So hiring mentors, I've always had, like, if I look back over the last 4 years, I've always paid someone as a coach or mentor. And there have been different ones for different phases of my learning and, what I needed to specifically help me personally or to help the business. But there's always been someone there, or multiple people working with me on multiple things, because I understand, I love learning and I want to learn from them. And I also I don't want to make the silly mistakes that someone else has already made. Why don't I just pay them to help me understand that? And then I can implement it and take action on it. That's been my philosophy. It's, I had a mentor, the guy I bought the course from, actually, the first course that I was telling you about just a second ago. One of his things was, imperfect action over perfect inaction. So if you can take imperfect action, or you can sit around and wait for everything to be perfect and then take action. I've very much been someone who's just like, okay, I feel it in my gut. Let's go. Let's take the risk. Let's make it happen. And then go all in on it. Like within a year after starting the business, I quit my job, and I knew that was where I was going to go. And so it was like, let's go. I'm not doing this as a hobby. This is how I'm going to support my family. And I think that's something that I see a lot of our clients, even they're maybe working a side job and not doing their business as the number one thing. It's like, you got to go all in whatever you're doing, in your relationship, in your hobbies. If you want to be an incredible rock climber, you got to go all in. If you want to, be a triathlon person, you got to go all in. If you got to, be the best in business and whatever you're doing, you got to go all in. And coaches help you refine those habits and those skills and help you see those things that you don't see. I would say one of the guys that I hired last year, Josh Munier, I hired him to help me on the financial side. Again, not having a background in this, I wasn't aware of the different financial ratios that you could look at, the different things that you should be looking at for profit and loss. And I would say he saved the business, because in November, we had a very, very tight cash flow situation, and he helped me navigate that as we were growing really fast to not extend too far and, crash and burn everything that we've built. So I can't say enough about coaches. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a waste of money. I think you can waste your money on coaches. There's probably 20,000 that I spent on coaches that didn't pan out. But the ones that did, they saved so much money and time and made, the rest of it totally worth it.
Yeah. And you wouldn't know, right, unless you try. And something you mentioned too, that I wanted to mention on too, is like the reason you've been using mentors or coaches as well in the past is because you want to learn from their mistakes rather than you doing it yourself before it gets to that point.
Absolutely. And people ask, sorry to cut you off, but people ask, how do you find a coach? And I do believe that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Find out what you need. If you don't know what you need and you haven't narrowed that down, you probably won't find a coach to help you. But if you know what you need, you can put it out and ask your network, or, as has often been the case for me, it just magically things align. And, someone comes into my life that recommends someone to help me with a problem. And that's how it's often happened.
Ends up just aligning. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get clear on what you want. And then I think solutions present themselves.
Love that. I think that can be applied to so many different parts of our life too. I love that. From your end too, I mean, it's a niche market, right? So when you were building a digital marketing business tailored specifically for contractors, what sparked your interest in catering, particularly to this industry?
I think it was my knowledge of the industry, in the sense that I'd worked in concrete, worked in construction, drywall, done some roofing, had helped in, other various tasks that go along with construction. And so I felt like I could speak the language to them. A lot of contractors, and rightly so, have a bit of a distaste for marketers because it's someone who's, lives in their mom's basement. And this is not all marketers. And I'm not bashing people who are just starting out, but there are a large number of marketing agencies that just start out and they don't know a thing about the industry that they're looking to help. They just think that they can make a profit in that industry. And so I looked at that and I said, well, I have an understanding. I can have actual meaningful conversations with them about, oh, I understand what goes into a roof. And so we can write content around that. Or I understand, the intricacies of, renovating a bathroom. And so we can help portray that to a client on your website. And so that became kind of my guiding light as far as, okay, I think this makes the most sense. I can have the most impact here. Were there other industries that could have been more profitable? Yeah, absolutely. But I didn't know. I don't have a background in law. I don't have a background in some of the other industries that would make sense. And so I wouldn't have been able to have the impact that I feel like we've been able to have so far.
Yeah, because it sounds like, for you, you're an expert in the space. So why wouldn't it makes sense for you to go into this industry, right? Because you know what they need and how to help them. So I understand what you mean with that too. When coming into this industry too, I'm sure you already knew some of the maybe challenges that might come up, but what were some of the unique challenges and opportunities you've encountered with serving contractors?
There's so many. And so when you asked the question, I'm kind of scrolling through the Rolodex here, but I think the challenge that I see the most, and this is a challenge that people have and also that I see as an agency, they expect, and they've kind of come to be trained, for better or for worse, in Facebook groups or whatever, that ads or SEO or a website is going to solve their problems as a business. Marketers are a tool in the tool belt, or SEO or Google Ads or a website. They're tools in the tool belt. If you don't have the business acumen and the ability to brand yourself and the ability to hunt and kill your own jobs, you won't make it, no matter how good your marketer is. With it, in the majority of the cases, of course, you can have awesome results, and that can cover up a multitude of issues in your business. But things are going to get tough eventually. And if you're just counting on your marketing agency, or you're firing everyone after 2 months because they're not, opening the pot of gold for you, that's a issue with you as a business owner, and no agency or marketing solution or marketing budget is going to fix that. And I think that is something I see so often, is something that we've started to weed out those types of people in our sales calls, because they don't end up being a good fit for us and we're not a good fit for them. And so it just saves heartache for both parties in that situation.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense too. And I think that it's something to be told that there's so many different parts, and businesses are so multifaceted. You can't just rely on, one tool to have. So I think pointing that out, that marketing is a tool to help you, not going to be like the full source of everything there for you.
For sure.
I love that. Also, I wanted to ask you too, with specifically your results-driven marketing tactics, could you share maybe a specific success story that you've had working with contractors?
Yeah, speaking, this segues well, I think, from, the tool thing, or marketing isn't for everybody. A lot of people are like, oh, SEO is dead. And we actually had a client, I was in a mastermind group with him last year, and I saw him starting to make some posts. And I actually liked this guy a lot. And I was following him for some of the stuff that he was going through in his marriage, how he had solved that. Marriage and relationships are very important to me. And I was, I'd reached out to him and formed a relationship over that. Because he was sharing a story about how his marriage was on the rocks, and they brought it back. And I was like, sweet, I'll reach out to him and form a relationship. Well, I started seeing him post in the group about how he liked his marketing agency, but he was pretty convinced that SEO was dead. I was like, interesting. I don't think that. Let's ask him some questions. And so I reached out to him and I said, what's going on? What are you seeing? And he said, well, we're seeing that most of our leads come off of word of mouth and social media. I said, that's awesome. He'd built a very strong brand. He's actually got a YouTube channel that's surpassed 10,000 subscribers now. And they're using that to actually pay for their marketing now, because they monetized it.
Amazing.
But he was saying, I think most leads come from social media. And I said, okay, interesting. I hear that. I'd love to have you come on the podcast and we'll talk about that. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Well, it just kept bugging me for a few days. And Saturday morning, I sat down, and this was last July, I believe. I sat down and I shot him a 20-minute video on Loom, and I was like, Mitch, these are all the things that are not being done on your marketing. This is why SEO is not working for you. Take it or leave it. Take this back to your marketing company, and get them to fix these things. He was spending almost 10K a month on marketing and seeing very little. It turned out we started having. He's like, dude, let's get on a call. I wasn't actually trying to sell him. I was just like, I like this guy. I don't think marketing's dead. SEO's dead. Let's have a conversation. He ended up coming on as a client a few months later after he had worked out some kinks with the other marketing agency. In January, so that was in August, I believe, of last year. In January of this year, end of January, he texted me and he's like, I've been tracking my numbers very carefully over the last 2 years. I know exactly where my ROI comes from, but I have more questions now than I did before. Because what I see is that Google is our number one ROI source. And I was like, booyah, let's go. So we got on a call and they doubled their spend with us because they can see that SEO is not dead. And, they're doing the work, we're doing the work, but that combination of things is allowing them to see their best ROI from SEO and from their organic leads. And I think this is, yes, it's a success story for us, but it's also, he's putting in the work in all the other channels too. He's very active on social media. He's very active, they have an initiative called Family First, where they offer free service for the first day of the month for people who are, homeless or don't have the tools that they need in life. And so he's doing all these other things, and we're just a tool in his tool belt. Yes, we're a profitable tool for him, but he's doing all those other things that build up to make a complete package. So that's one story. We've got other stories, but I think that SEO is dead is something I see a lot in the groups, and I'm like, well, depends how you're doing it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's such a great story to like showcase like how important it is to like look at the overall perspective too. And using that story as an example of like showing that someone who was like, I don't believe in this isn't going to work. And then having a conversation with you and realizing that, oh, shoot, okay, maybe there's another way to look at this, that to see that there is a lot of success within it.
Yeah.
So love to hear that too. On the topic of like the SEO as well, you already discussed a bit of the importance behind that. But what do you think about in today's digital age, like what elements contribute to the overall success and visibility into a business?
SEO is very multifaceted. And I think if there's anything someone's going to take away from listening to this, if you're in your car and you're driving and you're like, okay, I can actually remember this, think about how you can present the information about your company in a way that talks about what you do, where you do it, how you do it, what makes you the choice to go to, and how do you support that with videos, with pictures, with testimonials from clients in video or picture form, and all these different things that will make an information gap between you and your competitors. What are the things? You don't have to be the best in the area. There's only one person that can actually say they're the best in the area, but you need to believe that you're the best. And you need to portray that on your website and portray the customer journey for someone who's looking. People buy online now. They don't want to call you. They might text you, but they'd rather, request a quote or, purchase directly or text you. They don't want to call you to ask questions. So if you can answer all the questions that they have on every page. So let's say you've got a page about, estate cleanouts. What are the questions that property managers have? What are the questions that realtors have that give them the confidence that you're actually going to come out and do the work properly? What are the reviews that you've got on the page that support you saying that you do the work properly to give them the confidence there? Your website's a sales tool, it's an SEO tool, it's a lead generation tool, but it can be something very powerful that can convince people to purchase from you. It doesn't have to be the prettiest website, but it needs to have the information that people need to see when they get there. So if you could only take away one thing, that would be the number one thing is be you, be genuine, and answer people's questions. Because people go online looking for answers, and if you don't answer those questions, if you're just making pages for SEO without answering questions, then you may as well not be doing it at all.
Yeah, I think that's huge too, right? Because if they're just looking for an answer there, they're just going to scroll on to the next and the next because other people who might answer that question. So I like that. Be yourself, but be the person who answers the questions people have. Yeah. I also wanted to ask too, like knowing that this space is, really quite competitive and there's always evolving and in the digital marketing space. How do you stay ahead of the curve and ensure your strategies remain effective and innovative for your clients?
I love learning. I'm always learning. I'm always purchasing courses. In the SEO space, it's often less about coaching, although I guess I currently have a couple of coaches in SEO, but it's courses. There's always someone who's found something that you haven't. I don't have time to test all the things to make sure that we're doing it as well as we can for clients. So how can I stay? What are the channels that I can pay attention to of people that are testing this specific thing and this specific thing to make sure that we're on track with what's changing and what's moving? Because Google's making a lot of changes this year. And if you're not continuing to, I think answering questions is going to be even more important with the things that they're rolling out than they have been in the past. So if you're not continuing to do those things, and we're not staying on top of that as a business who is essentially a guide in the confusing internet jungle, then we're not helping our clients to the max ability that we can.
Yeah, I think that's huge. It all connects, right? It all connects together. Well, I appreciate it. I have one final question for you before we sign off. This has been amazing so far. Overall, besides just be the person to answer those questions and be you, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially those looking to venture into the digital marketing realm?
Such a good question. And I want to leave someone with something that's useful. It's not just a cliche. I can only speak from my experience. And so if this works for you, grab it and run with it. Learn as much as you can. Devote regular time to learning. Don't be afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of trying things and then not working. And don't be afraid to be the stupidest person in the room. In fact, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you've reached a ceiling that you can't ever, go further. So yeah, I think it would be learn. One of the things I tag a lot of my social media posts actually is learn, implement, and grow at the end of whatever I've just talked about. You've got to learn the stuff, but then you've got to ask questions to learn, to be the dumbest person in the room and to continue.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lewis. I really appreciate you, going over your story, giving some more advice to our listeners, as well as discussing, the importance of being yourself and asking questions and answering questions as well. But again, thank you so much, Lewis, for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Thank you for tuning into the Workies podcast. We hope today's episode has provided valuable insights and inspiration to propel your business forward. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging discussions and expert advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the field service industry. I hope you got to unplug a little with us. Until next time, keep innovating, growing, and delivering exceptional service. We'll see you in the next episode of Workies Unplugged.